your money and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 money skills. Please call us today at 727-422-7761 to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hi, and welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Moments of Clarity. My name's Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And my guest today is entered her first year as a minor league hitting coach with the New York Yankees. And she's the first woman to hold that title in the history. And she's had so many other things that she's held records for with women's sports. And we also are talking about how mental health is associated with sports performance, and sports and professional players get anxiety. And she referred to it as the yips. But clinically, it's probably a term like anxiety, performance anxiety. We get irrational fears. And so things like that can really affect our performance by giving us doubts and irrational insecurities, kind of things like that. And so I want to welcome back to Moments of Clarity, Rachel Balkovec.
Thanks
so much. And I know we were going to get into your second spout of depression. You recovered, you were able to recognize it, and I love that, because of counseling, and if we reach out for help, can really help us identify if you start feeling a little weird or different or not understanding what's wrong. And what Rachel was saying, what you were saying, Rachel, is that you were not getting out of bed, you were not being able to perform, and back in the day probably weren't skilled on and in the stigma of mental health or mental health things, but those are just red flags right away for anybody to go seek help from a counselor and identify what's going on, because loss of interest in things that we really like to do is a number one sign of depression, like one of the main signs. So being able to recognize that and know that it can be helped, and you don't have to live like that, is, part of what we're trying to do in the show is ending the stigma. But Rachel, we have a caller. Patrick. Hi, Patrick. Hi. Sure. Welcome to call. Thanks for calling in. Welcome to Moments of Clarity.
I had to call in to talk to Rachel because
Patrick is my executive assistant. Hi, Patrick.
She reached out to me, or I reached out to her, and she responded. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think the one is the reason I reached out was because like you said, as I used to be an athlete a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But you never talked about because when you're an athlete, you're supposed to be like Superman, I guess, and people take it for granted that you're always in the right mindset, especially if you're doing well. But there's, we're human beings like the rest of everybody, and we're part of your family. We just tend to hide it because, we can't show weakness. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated in your CBS interview where you talked about having that anxiety and how you redirected through your weightlifting to get through some of that. And so I really appreciated that. And especially, the women's empowerment part. If I had a daughter, I would definitely want her to emulate what you've gone through, mm-hmm. because I really appreciate what you've accomplished in a male-dominated sport. So
exactly.
I just wanted to say
well
that.
Put. And we hadn't even gotten to the weightlifting part, but I was looking forward to seeing how she come through the second part. But I'm anticipating on seeing that because obviously you wouldn't be where you are today if you didn't have to punch through whatever struggles you were facing and recognize. And it takes a lot of self-work to get through that because anxiety is a learned behavior and we can unlearn it. And it takes us to be able to recognize what we're thinking and redirect our thinking. And we have to learn to do that. And it takes practice, a lot of practice, but it is possible. But Patrick, thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick.
And for the heads up, and for finding her to call in. We love guests with powerful stories, so I'm just putting it out there. If you have a story that you'd want to share on the show, contact Patrick Montoya. Yeah, Patrick, I'm going to put you out there. Patrick Montoya, and you can message him on Facebook or LinkedIn and give him your story and welcome on Moments of Clarity.
But so Rachel, you know how I mean, I know what the gifts are because I've never had them, but I've seen people go through them, and then it just starts a endless battle. But I mean, how did you know when that depression? I mean, did people notice, or were you just kind of hiding in your own head?
Good question, actually. Yeah. I don't know if people notice because I haven't gone back to ask them, but I would say they probably. But I actually, funny enough, I'm recording a podcast with one of my college coaches this afternoon, so I should ask her. But I don't think they noticed because pretty quickly. Well, first of all, I was going to say the tough thing about being an athlete and being in depression is you're like, am I tired because I've trained at 5 a.m. and practiced for 3 hours and gone to class, or am I tired because I'm in a depression?
Or feeling burned out, or in a funk or something. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Just because I haven't eaten enough for my crazy training day and my 3 classes and my test tomorrow. Is that why I'm stressed? Or, so there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on for an athlete where it's not sure. But the second time around, and I'm so open to talking about this because I don't view depression in the traditional sense as many people do, where it's like I'm depressed and I struggle from chronic depression over my entire life. I just know that when you're going through a tough time and you're trying to process a lot going on, that it's easy to slip into worry and fear and anxiety and not being able to sleep. And so I was able to recognize it and just to mitigate it by when I felt tired, I was like, no, this is a mental thing. This is not, I'm not physically tired. I need to get out of bed and go exercise just like I normally would. And then I would go exercise or go do my training. I'd feel great afterwards. And I'm like, okay, it was completely just this mental kind of rut that I was in feeling symptoms of depression. But I could recognize that, and I knew what it was. And I was like, no, I don't want to get out of bed, but I know that I can't get out of bed. It's not a physical exhaustion. It's just a decision that I have to make. And like you said, it was a learned behavior. It's a decision that I have to make to get myself out of bed, whether that's to get out of bed to go train like it was for me, or that's to get out of bed to go on a walk, or that's to get out of bed and make breakfast.
Right.
Simple things that you have to
take
make
a shower.
Decision to
Some
do.
people can't even get to that point.
So to be able to make those decisions, and then those decisions lead to bigger decisions. So if you can get out of bed and take a shower, you can then get out of the shower and go make breakfast maybe, or you go, those little decisions that build on one another.
At first, and feeling accomplished, even just to say that I accomplished getting out of bed and taking a shower. When you're in that mindset, it is very challenging to do when you're in that state of depression or having high anxiety. Those things should be, you should celebrate and accomplish them and take one thing at a time. A lot of people look at all of the things they have to do at the bigger picture, and it gets overwhelming, and then they don't want to even try. And so, and I applaud everyone that's even suffering, living with even situational depression, everyday depression, or anything, for completing the little tasks, because it's extra hard for them. It's extra hard at that time. And the baby steps are what, I mean, even if it seems like we should all be able to do that. Well, no, not everyone can at that time. And it should be, it's very courageous, and it takes a lot of strength to push through that. But it does help after a while. Yeah,
and I think, to answer your question, that time around, two things. I knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel because it was a situation that I was in, and I couldn't do much to change it that wouldn't completely disrupt my life. So it was about to end in a few months, and I just knew it, and I had to hang on. So I was just like, all right, I have to get up and go work out. And so I have to like call my friends. I have to do things to basically, again, making those small decisions to be healthy and to feel energetic and to talk to people that I knew were supportive of me and loved me. Not even talk about, oh, I'm depressed, but just talk to them because I know they love me and they are an energetic person. So making those small decisions until I was out of that situation. And I could actually look inside the jar, inside the situation. It's very tough. Look at myself and say, okay, Rachel, you are not your normal self. You're experiencing symptoms of depression. You have to make these decisions to salvage the situation and get through it. But the other thing is, it's like when you are in a situation that maybe doesn't have, I knew there was a definite end timeline-wise that I was like, all right, I can make it through this. And immediately when I left, within a month of me leaving that situation, I was like, okay, I was already feeling completely different and more like myself because I wasn't around certain people and certain situations. Sometimes you don't even realize that it's the situation you're in or it's the people you're around or it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever. You don't even realize, like, you're feeling this way, and no matter what, if you can get up and go take a shower, you're still around people. You know, like you have to recognize the situation that you're in and the toxic behaviors that other people are doing that might be causing it, and you have to leave that situation. So I think they're twofold. I knew that was ending. Looking back on my softball career when I was facing anxiety and depression, I didn't really know, but just naturally I knew. The reason why I said I don't think my teammates really knew what I was going through, because I naturally gravitated towards finding a way to find self-worth, which I had to switch. No one told me to do this. That's the thing. I didn't have a mental skills person or somebody who was guiding me through this. But naturally, when basically my career was over on the field where I could not play anymore, really. Like, I could play, but I could never be trusted in a pressure situation. So that means I was never playing, any real tough games, right. If any, towards the end there. And I had to make a decision of like, all right, now my identity is no longer being a catcher on the field, but it's helping the pitchers in the bullpen. It's being in the weight room and contributing positively to our conditioning and our strength and conditioning sessions, which actually led to my first career, which was strength and conditioning for 10 years in sports.
So supporting them in the ways that you could do helped you feel more self-worth and helped you feel good by helping others, which is, I mean, I could relate that to so many different situations too, on how our hardships and our obstacles, sharing those or going past that and doing what we can do can really help build our confidence in other areas as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said I'm not sure if they knew how much I was struggling, because they still saw me being positive and working hard and all these things, even though that wasn't my first choice. My first choice was to be also a softball player and play in the Olympics, of course. But I still somehow gravitated towards, okay, what makes me feel good? And bringing it back to, okay, sometimes that's taking a shower, just getting out of bed and taking a shower. What makes you feel good? Get up and take a shower. Okay, for me, that was what makes me feel good. Okay, helping my teammates makes me feel good, and I could no longer do that on the field, so how am I going to do it? And I had to figure out a way to do that to contribute to the team and have some sense of self-worth. And same thing, after sports, where I was like, okay, I'm going to the gym. But when I did it, I felt wonderful, of course, but it was making that decision. And I love that you framed it like that, because I think nowadays there's a huge conversation. And by the way, I'm not a licensed psychologist by any means, but I hear a lot of this because I am in sports, and it's a huge hot topic in sports is, well, that person suffers from depression. And it's almost this victim mentality, right. Whereas, of course, there are certain instances where there are outliers and there are chemical imbalances. It's a sickness, it's a disease. However, there are also steps that we can all take and have the discipline to, even within that moment of like, I can't get out of bed, because I've definitely felt that. It's like, no, first step, sit up.
Like the little train that could. I think I can. But sometimes, I mean, eventually it just starts to make sense. We're like, why is this happening so long? And and then